Welcome to IU Counseling and Psychological Services online webinar series. We're so glad you want to improve your wellness by learning how to improve your sleep today. There are 4 things you will get out of this workshop. First, we'll start with the basics of how much sleep you need to feel at your best, and then help you learn how your current sleep habits could be negatively impacting both your mental and physical health. Next, we'll teach you lots and lots of strategies that you can start using today. And last, we'll put all of this together to help you create a personalized plan to start working on improving your sleep tonight. In order for you to get the most out of our workshop, you'll need about 45 minutes so that you can listen and understand all of the pieces of information that you need to know. You'll also need a pen and piece of paper to answer a few questions along the way so that you can develop your personalized action plan. So let's get started. Grab your pen and write down the answers to these 2 questions. First, how many hours of sleep are you typically getting lately? Not the best night or the worst night, but how many hours are you typically sleeping? Second, if you take naps, write down how long those naps usually last. Go ahead and pause the workshop and write down your answers. To find the steps you need to take to improve your sleep, first you need to have a basic understanding of how sleep works and what's happening in your brain. There are 2 factors that control your sleep that we'll refer back to in the workshop. The first factor is light. The part of your brain called the suprachiasmatic nucleus is located near your optic nerve, so it can monitor if there is light coming into your eyes or not. If light is coming into your eyes, your brain determines that it's probably daytime and therefore not time for sleep. And then no melatonin is produced by your brain. But if little or no light is detected in your optic nerve, then your brain knows that it's probably nighttime and therefore it is time to sleep. So your brain begins releasing melatonin. You've probably heard of melatonin, right? It's the brain chemical that makes you feel sleepy, and it's triggered by darkness. So if you're someone who works on your computer at night, or if you sleep during the day instead of at night, light may be an important factor in understanding your sleep problems. The second factor that controls your sleep is a brain chemical called adenosine. Your brain starts producing adenosine the minute you wake up. And as adenosine builds up throughout the day, it creates what's called sleep pressure. Adenosine builds up and peaks about 12 to 16 hours after you wake up. So if you're someone who takes naps during the day, sleep pressure is an important factor in understanding what problems you might have with your sleep. So now that you know the 2 factors that control your sleep, now we need to know how much sleep you actually need. A minute ago, you wrote down how much sleep you're typically getting. So check to see if you're getting the right amount. Research studies have shown that humans need 7 to 9 hours of sleep each night, or else the lack of sleep will damage your mental and physical health. Many college students are surprised to learn that getting 6 or fewer hours is considered sleep deprivation. By the way, some countries actually use sleep deprivation as a punishment because it does some really bad things to our health. So getting less than 6 hours isn't something to be proud of, and it's something you're going to have to change in order to feel better. We should also touch on some things you might have heard about sleep. You've probably heard people talk about catching up on sleep, but that's actually not possible. One study showed that even if a person gets extra sleep for 3 nights, it still isn't able to catch up or make up for the damage caused by 1 night of sleep deprivation. Again, remember, sleep deprivation is less than 6 hours. So if you've been sleeping less during the week and then trying to catch up on the weekends, this is not going to work. This is something you're going to have to change. As we move toward helping you know what you need to change about your sleep, you'll also need to know that there are two types of sleep that happen in your brain: REM sleep and non-REM sleep. Throughout the night, we go through cycles of sleep, and each cycle lasts around 90 minutes. And ladies, you should know that your brain needs more sleep compared to men. So it's extra important that you prioritize getting at least 7 hours of sleep each night. We need to know a little bit more about REM and non-REM sleep so that you can understand what you need to change about your sleep habits. So along the bottom of this graph are the number of hours of sleep that someone could get. So at 0, that's when you fall asleep. If you look above 0, you see a light blue color, and that represents non-REM sleep. On the graph, the dark blue color represents REM sleep. So looking at 0, when you first fall asleep, we start by getting only non-REM sleep. And after about an hour or so, we get a little burst of REM sleep and then go back to getting non-REM sleep. We cycle back and forth between non-REM and REM sleep the entire night. What's most important for you to understand here is that we get mostly non-REM sleep the first 4 hours, and we get most of our REM sleep during hours 5, 6, 7, and 8. So if you wrote down that you get less than 6 hours of sleep, notice from this graph, that means your brain is not getting 60 to 90% of the REM sleep that it needs in order to function correctly. This is a picture of the activity happening in a brain during non-REM and REM sleep, so you can better understand why REM is so crucial. The picture on the left is brain activity during non-REM sleep, and remember that occurs mostly during the first 4 hours of the night. And the picture on the right is brain activity during REM sleep, or the last 4 hours of the night. There is obviously something different happening in your brain during the REM and non-REM sleep, right? So if you're sleeping fewer than 7 hours, you're getting very little REM sleep, and there are different things not happening in your brain. You're missing out on them. Now let's switch gears and start working on understanding the troubles that you're having and what could be causing them. Go ahead and grab your pen and paper and write down the type of sleep problems that you're experiencing. For example, maybe you're having trouble falling asleep at night. Maybe you're waking up during the night, or you're waking up before your alarm in the morning. Maybe you're feeling sleepy during the day. Pause this workshop to write down your answers. At the same time, if you're having any trouble with concentration, mood, or any other symptoms you're noticing, go ahead and write those down too. So if you wrote down that you get less than 7 hours of sleep, even if this only happens once or twice per week, I'm going to try to convince you why you need to prioritize getting at least 7 hours every single night and the ways that it's going to benefit you. The information we're sharing comes from over 17,000 research studies on sleep, and many of those studies were conducted on college students just like you. We know that not getting enough sleep, less than 7 hours, has detrimental effects on learning, mood, and your physical health. So if you slept 6 or fewer hours last night and you try to learn new material today, your ability to learn is going to be significantly worse. And as a college student, that's definitely a problem. If you decide to skip sleep tonight to cram for exam, research shows that you'll forget around 40% of what you're trying to learn just because your brain didn't get enough sleep. Is it really worth staying up if you're going to forget 40% of it? Research studies also show that making sure you get enough sleep after you learn new material helps you remember it better or consolidate learning. That's probably going to help you get some better grades, right? For example, let's say you got 7 to 9 hours of sleep last night and you learned new material today. And then tonight, you make sure that you get 7 to 9 hours of sleep. Research shows that you're going to remember up to 40% more of what you learned. So also, you should know that if you're a musician, you perform science lab experiments or play sports, the kinds of tasks that require motor learning, sleeping in 8 full hours is especially important for you to maximize these kinds of motor skills. So maybe you're thinking, well, learning and grades aren't a problem for me. Well, what about attention or concentration? Did you write that down as something that you struggle with? Research shows that sleeping less than 7 hours on even one night significantly reduces your ability to concentrate. And check this out. After one night of less than 7 hours of sleep, your concentration will be lower, not just the next day, but for the next 3 days. So if you don't get enough sleep on Monday night, that means it's going to affect your ability to concentrate Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. One sleep fact that I think is really surprising is this. If you sleep for only 6 hours or less, the next day your brain is going to function at a similar level of cognitive impairment as if you drank alcohol and had a 0.05 blood alcohol content, so about 2 drinks. Another way to think about this is to ask yourself, would you take a couple of shots and then go take your exam? You probably answered no. And if you did answer no, then you should know that sleeping 6 or fewer hours and then going to class or take exams is doing something similar to your brain. So you might be thinking, well, I sleep less than 6 hours sometimes, but I don't feel like I'm drunk or sleep deprived. Well, here's the thing you should know. You won't be able to tell that your performance is impaired because sleep deprivation distorts your ability to see how sleep deprived you really are. This is also based on research by college students who estimate how sleep deprived they are, and they really are not able to tell that when you're sleep deprived. I'll give you a few more reasons that you can benefit from sleeping at least 7 hours each night. So if you wrote down that you're concerned about your appetite or weight, or if you're trying to gain muscle mass, then you should know that studies show that sleeping 6 hours per night may lead to 14 pounds of weight gain each year. That's because when you're tired, your brain sends signals to your body to find quick sources of energy. That means you're going to be hungrier and drawn toward foods that give you quick sources of energy. And those are things like sugar, salt, and less healthy foods. You also might be surprised to know that not getting enough sleep lowers your sex drive and your testosterone levels. And for men, you're more likely to experience problems with erections. Last, if you have any troubles with chronic pain or physical injuries, you should know that not getting enough sleep makes it harder for you to manage your pain. Maybe you wrote down that you're concerned about stress, anxiety, or depression. Well, let me tell you what some of those 17,000 research studies told us about how sleep may be impacting your emotions and your mood. Do you remember the graph that showed that we get most of our REM sleep during hours 5, 6, 7, and 8? Well, REM sleep is what helps your brain manage stress and your emotions. So if you feel stressed, anxious, depressed, or up and down, and you're getting fewer than 7 hours of sleep each night, this is something you can work on changing. If you sleep less than 7 hours tonight, tomorrow, your body will have more of a chemical called cortisol, and that's a stress hormone. That's part of why we feel more stressed. Think about how that could build up over a period of days or weeks or even months. Insufficient sleep also decreases the connections between the part of your brain that triggers emotions and the part of your brain that helps you cope with your emotions. So this means that getting more sleep can help you better manage how you feel. If you experience stress or anxiety and don't know about the amygdala or how it works in your brain, I strongly recommend that you learn some more about that. It'll give you more tools to help you improve how you manage your emotions. You might be thinking, well, sometimes I get less than 7 hours of sleep, but that's just a few nights a week, and I feel anxious every day. Here's the thing that you need to know. Not getting enough sleep makes your sympathetic nervous system and your amygdala overactive, not just the next day, but also for the days after that. Insufficient sleep isn't just linked to stress and anxiety. Research also shows that it's linked to depression. So sleeping less than 7 hours has been linked to mood swings, feeling lonely and helpless, thoughts of suicide, and even suicide attempts. Improving your sleep can reduce your risk for developing depression, improve the depression symptoms you're already experiencing, and it can reduce your risk of experiencing depression again in the future. Okay, so let's pause a minute and review. We talked about how much sleep you need to get each night, and you learned that studies show getting enough sleep can improve your concentration, learning, appetite and weight, stress management, mood, anxiety, and depression. Before we move on, please turn over your piece of paper and let's start writing down your action plan for what you need to do to improve your sleep. Please pause the video while you do this. For the rest of the workshop, we'll add more strategies to your action plan. So keep it next to you and jot down strategies to try out. You might have thought about trying sleep medication. Medication is not recommended as the first thing to try for several reasons. First, it's been shown to be less effective than treatments called sleep hygiene and CBT, or cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia. And we'll talk about those later. Second, studies show that prescription sleep medications on average only add about 3 to 34 minutes of sleep, and they can have some pretty crummy side effects. Well, what about over-the-counter sleep medications and herbal supplements? We see those advertised all the time. Studies on melatonin show that it can help with jet lag, and it's been shown to help improve sleep for elderly adults. But the research has not shown it to be effective for other age groups. The other thing you should know about sleep medications and herbal remedies that are over the counter is that the FDA doesn't oversee these medications on the shelf. So there's really no way of knowing if the pill you're buying actually contains that melatonin or herb, or if the dose or concentration is even correct. And when it comes to melatonin, the dose actually is very important to get right. So buyer beware. If you use caffeine, here are some things that you need to know about how it could impact your sleep. Caffeine impacts your body for 5 to 7 hours. So you're going to have to figure out what time you want to go to sleep and then cut off your caffeine use 5 to 7 hours before this. Some people can even be a little more sensitive to caffeine than that, so it might be even a little more than 5 to 7 hours for you. Caffeine is obviously found in coffee, several types of tea, and energy drinks, but there are other things that you'd never guess include caffeine. For example, cold, allergy, and some pain medications, dark chocolate, even ice cream. So check out the things that you use. You can ask your pharmacist if any of your over-the-counter or prescription medications contain caffeine. Don't forget, too, that prescription stimulants like Adderall and Vyvanse can also disrupt your sleep because they're stimulants. So if you're someone who uses coffee, tea, or energy drinks, you also want to check to see how much caffeine you're actually consuming in a day. It could be a lot more than you think and could be having a big effect on your sleep. Another thing that you might think will help is to take naps. Maybe you thought, I'll keep sleeping 6 hours at night and then I'll take a nap for a couple of hours during the day, and that'll give me that minimum number of hours of sleep. Unfortunately, that is not going to work. Naps longer than 30 minutes will actually cause more sleep problems in the long run. If you want to nap, it has to be 30 minutes or less. In order to get the benefits of REM sleep, like we saw on that graph, you have to sleep a continuous 7 to 9 hours. You can't sleep 6 hours at night and then take a nap during the day and pick up where you left off on that graph. You have to start all the way back over again. Also, you should know that naps disrupt sleep pressure, one of those 2 factors that control your sleep. So if you are taking naps longer than 30 minutes, you're probably going to have trouble falling asleep that night or waking up in the middle of the night, or both. So if you take naps longer than 30 minutes, you'll want to write down on your action plan to stop napping or at least significantly reduce them to 30 minutes. Let's talk about the impact of alcohol, nicotine, and marijuana on sleep, because this could give you some ideas on changes to make in your life. Similar to what we talked about with caffeine, alcohol and marijuana might be quick fixes to feeling sleepy, but they cause other problems that worsen sleep in the long term. So it's true that alcohol and marijuana make you feel sleepy or sedated or fall asleep, but as alcohol wears off, usually around 4 to 5 hours later, it can actually cause you to wake up during the night. And you'll want to know that alcohol and marijuana will cause you to miss out on a lot of your REM sleep. So you're going to miss those benefits of learning, memory, concentration, mood, and you're going to wake up feeling groggy or exhausted. Of course, there's also the possibility that using alcohol or marijuana could lead to a substance use disorder down the road too. If you use any kind of nicotine, you'll want to remember that that's a stimulant, so it's probably going to keep you from falling asleep at night. So bottom line here, skip using alcohol, marijuana, and nicotine in the evening. Before we move on, go ahead and add to your personalized action plan any changes that you want to make regarding sleep medications, caffeine, naps, alcohol, and marijuana. Here's a step that many of you will probably need to add to your action plan. Your brain naturally makes that chemical called melatonin when it's dark. The first kind of light that we need to talk about that could be a problem for you is called blue light. Blue light comes from any device that has a screen. So that means your computer, cell phone, tablet, or TV screen. Blue light suppresses your brain from making melatonin, making you lay awake in bed. It's bad enough that blue light causes you to not be able to fall asleep, but it also reduces your REM sleep once you do fall asleep. And it delays production of melatonin in your brain for the next several nights, not just that night when you are looking at your phone. This means that we all have to stop using our devices about 30 to 60 minutes before we want to go to sleep. I know this is a drag. I don't like it either, because getting in bed and looking at your phone or watching Netflix is fun, but it is going to delay your sleep, not just tonight, but also in the coming days. So we've got to do it. The second kind of light we need to talk about comes from LED and compact fluorescent light bulbs. Those also suppress melatonin production in your brain. So check the light bulb that's in your desk lamp where you study and the lamp next to your bed. And if they have LED or compact fluorescent bulbs, you're going to want to replace those with low wattage incandescent bulbs. Just go to your local hardware store, they'll know exactly what you're talking about. Incandescent bulbs. By the way, if you just thought to yourself, well, I have a blue light filter on my phone, so it's no big deal, I'll keep looking at my phone at night. I'm sorry to tell you that that actually won't work. A recent study of the iPhone blue filter showed that it's actually not very effective. So now that you know that light is a huge factor in your brain triggering sleep and melatonin production, you should be thinking about how you can add darkness to your environment. About an hour before you want to go to sleep, start turning off or dimming all the unnecessary lights around you. Darkness triggers your brain to produce melatonin. You should also reduce light that comes in through your bedroom windows. So find curtains that make it as dark as possible, or a simple fix is to staple black trash bags to the back of your curtains. It might seem silly, but you'll also want to reduce any glowing lights in your bedroom, like the power buttons on your computer or TV. Even a very small amount of light, like the amount that comes out of a nightlight, has been shown to disrupt melatonin production in your brain. Even though studies showed that the blue light filter on iPhones don't work well, it's still probably worth turning on. So go to Settings, Display and Brightness, choose Night Shift, and turn it on by choosing the Scheduled option. That way it will turn on automatically each day. Let's talk now about some strategies to try if one of the problems you're having is waking up during the night. First, remember there are two things we already talked about that you'll need to do. Number one, no naps longer than 30 minutes. And if you are napping less than 30 minutes but still waking up, try cutting out naps completely for at least 1 to 2 weeks. And second, stop all use of alcohol and marijuana. Another thing you can try is to make notes each morning about when and why you woke up. You may notice patterns that help you identify why you're waking up. For example, maybe you notice that you're waking up because you're hot or cold, because you have to go to the bathroom, because your roommate's being noisy, or maybe you notice that it happens mostly on Mondays and Wednesdays, and those are the nights before your hardest class. Patterns can help you identify things that you need to change. Let me give you a list of things to try if you are waking up at night. First, don't move any more than you have to. Don't get up, don't move around, don't check the clock. Stay as still as possible to keep your heart rate as low as possible. Second, don't use any lights. Don't look at your phone, don't turn on your light when you go to the bathroom. If you absolutely have to, use a night light in your bathroom. Third, don't look at the clock. No matter what time it is, your brain is going to have thoughts and emotional reactions to the time that you see on the clock, and that's only going to make it harder to fall back to sleep. If you're someone who lays in bed minute after minute, not falling asleep, this is not going to be helpful. So after laying in bed for about 15 or 20 minutes, if you don't feel sleepy, get out of bed. Move to a completely dark or a dimly lit place outside of your bed. And I want you to do some kind of activity that's relaxing, but a little bit boring. For example, listen to a podcast, look at a magazine, read a book that's not for school, maybe even a book that you've read before so that you don't have to use maximum concentration. You could color, do a Sudoku or crossword puzzle. Once you start to feel sleepy and your eyelids get heavy, go ahead and move back into your bed and see if you can fall asleep. If you lay there for another 15 or 20 minutes and still can't fall asleep, get back out of bed and repeat the process. Remember though, don't turn on lights, don't use your phone or computer. If you're going to read a book or a magazine, purchase a book light to minimize light. Last, if you wake up at night, don't sleep in the next day. Even if you're really tired, get up the same time as usual. This tiredness is going to be tough to deal with during the day, but it's going to make it more likely that you sleep through the next night. Now is a good time to pause the video again and write down more strategies to add to your personalized action plan regarding blue light, light bulbs and other lights in your bedroom, and what to do if you wake up at night. Here's a list of more strategies that can help. Besides blue light, a consistent schedule is the #1 thing that I see help college students. You need to follow a consistent wake up and go to sleep time each day. The schedule can't vary by more than 1 hour from day to day. And this might be really hard to change if you have a Monday, Wednesday class schedule that's different from your Tuesday, Thursday schedule. Very often students want to sleep in when they have like classes a couple days a week. But if you do that, it'll be much harder to fall asleep. Second, temperature in your bedroom is really important. Temperatures between 60 and 65 degrees Fahrenheit or 15 and 18 degrees Celsius is necessary and optimal for sleep. So purchase a cheap thermometer to measure your bedroom temperature. And you may need to buy a fan or even a window air conditioner. Our body is built to sleep much better on the cooler side rather than the warm side. So always err in that direction. #3, use a routine before bed. Routine creates a transition period where you can slow down your mind from whatever studying you were just doing and lower your heart rate, all of which can move you closer to sleep. 20 and 30 minutes is really all you need. So identify a couple of wind down activities that you can do, maybe yoga poses, stretching, coloring, crafts, or reading for fun. Or you could pack your backpack for tomorrow. Make a to-do list to get some things off your mind. Listen to your favorite wind down music. Or try progressive muscle relaxation if your body feels tense. Or diaphragmatic breathing if your mind feels wound up. Just don't do any physical exercise, aerobic exercise in your bedtime routine. #4 might sound silly, but research studies have shown that shifting your body's temperature, your core temperature, by a couple of degrees triggers sleepiness. The easiest way for you to do this is to take a hot shower or bath about an hour before you want to fall asleep. The shower will increase your body's core temperature, and then after you get out, your core temperature will lower back to the air temperature. And as it comes back down, you'll notice sleepiness. Other studies have shown that warming up your hands and feet can also help. Just remember, you can't look directly at any kind of screen, so no watching Netflix or FaceTiming with your friend 30 to 60 minutes before you sleep. If you're using an app for any of your wind down activities, just be sure to turn your phone over so that the light isn't coming out of it. Here are 6 more strategies to try. If you're having trouble shutting off your mind, experiment with different things to distract your brain. If you just lay there in bed, your mind's going to wander to your worries, keep you awake. Instead, give your brain something to focus on. It could be a podcast or audiobook, mindfulness or progressive muscle relaxation. And you can find lots of free apps for mindfulness and progressive muscle relaxation. #7, cover up your alarm clock. Think about the last time you woke up and looked at the clock. What were your thoughts and feelings? It might have been something like, oh my gosh, it's 1:16 a.m. and I still can't fall asleep. I'm going to be so tired tomorrow. And you're going to feel frustrated or maybe worried. These thoughts about the time and their associated feelings probably going to make it harder for you to sleep. So don't look at the clock. Doesn't matter what time it is. It doesn't make any difference to what you need to do next. Don't check the clock. If you use your phone as your alarm clock, plug it in as far away from your bed as possible, because if you can just simply reach over and grab it, it's just going to be too tempting. Number 8, eating food close to your bedtime and eating foods that are spicy can disrupt your sleep. So make sure you're eating at least 2 or 3 hours before you go to bed. Number 9, if you're someone who lays in bed and you're thinking about your to-do list or your worries or things that could happen in the future, or maybe you wake up at night and find yourself thinking about these things, try this. Make your to-do list or write down your worries before you go to bed or when you wake up at night. It might sound silly, but putting those things down on paper can help your brain let go of thinking about them and allow it to focus on sleep. Number 10, just like we talked about with waking up at night, don't stay in bed more than 20 minutes if you feel wide awake. Get out of bed, sit somewhere that's dim or dark, and do some kind of relaxing but a little bit boring activity. We don't want you excited and wanting to stay awake any longer. That's why it needs to be a little bit boring. Number 11, don't exercise at least 2 or 3 hours before bed. Gentle stretching and yoga is fine, but anything that gets your heart rate up is going to counter effect what we need to happen. Your heart rate needs to go down in order to sleep. So exercise would make it go up. It's recommended that you do exercise other times of the day in order to improve your sleep because it can make you feel more tired, it can stretch your tense muscles, and help you manage stress. Just don't do it 2 to 3 hours before sleep. So I mentioned progressive muscle relaxation as a strategy to try as part of your bedtime routine or if you wake up at night. Progressive muscle relaxation is really good to do if you feel physically tense or if your muscles feel tight. It's a step-by-step process of tightening and then relaxing muscles in each part of your body. It's a great way to distract your mind and to help your body relax at the same time. You can find lots of guided progressive muscle relaxation exercises on YouTubes or apps, but again, just don't watch the screen. You can also find this on WellTrack, which you can use for free if you're an IU student. Go to indiana.welltrack.com. Simply create an account using your IU email address. Answer a couple of quick questions about the symptoms that you're having, and then go to the tools section. Let's pause one last time for you to add any of those 11 strategies to your personalized action plan. I want to leave you with a few resources that can help you put your plan into action. First, I recommend downloading the Sleep Diary from the National Sleep Foundation. It will help you track the different things that we talked about, like number of hours of sleep, naps, caffeine use, and blue light. You'll want to complete it each day to help you stay on track and identify what's helping you and what you need to keep working on. Next, I'll show you apps that are available for iPhone and Android and have free versions. The first app is called Sleep Cycle. There are 2 great things about it. First, before you go to sleep, you'll press start and then lay your phone on the corner of your bed. Throughout the night, the app will monitor your movement in bed as a rough indicator of whether you're awake, asleep, or in deep sleep, which is likely REM sleep. In the morning, you can review that graph of your sleep, and that graph could help you identify patterns for when or why you're waking up and why your sleep doesn't feel restful. Second, the app uses that movement estimate to determine the best time for you to wake up in the morning so you can feel less groggy when you wake up. Simply enter the time that you want to wake up, and the app will wake you up within a 20-minute window of your wake-up time. So for example, if you want to wake up at 7:30, the app will wake you up between 7:10 and 7:30 based on the time that you're showing the most movement and therefore the closest to being awake already. You can also link the app to your Apple Watch, monitor your heart rate and snoring, do their Sleep School course, and you can share your graph with your healthcare provider to talk more about sleep. Next is the CBTI Coach app. Again, Cognitive Behavioral Therapy for Insomnia is what CBTI stands for. And research studies have shown that CBTI, along with sleep hygiene, are the most effective ways to improve your sleep. So check out the great tools in this app. If you're someone who has trouble waking up or hearing your alarm in the morning, you might want to try out Alarmy. It has several options of things that you have to do in order to turn off the alarm. For example, you have to shake your phone in a specific way. You have to correctly complete a bunch of math problems. You could choose to have to walk a specific number of steps or to take a photo of a place that you preset, like your refrigerator. It's definitely worth a try. Here's another thing to try, but this one's not an app. You can use wakeup.io to wake yourself up with a phone call. If you want to learn more about sleep and the strategy that we talked about, try these two books, The Sleep Revolution by Arianna Huffington, or more recently, Why We Sleep by Dr. Matthew Walker, who's a professor of neuroscience and psychology. Dr. Walker has also been featured on several podcasts, so you could listen to those while you fall asleep. Once you try these strategies out, if you don't see the changes that you hoped for, or if your symptoms are worsening, please talk to any kind of healthcare provider. The IU Health Center on campus is a resource that you can use too. We have doctors and nurses on the second and third floors, and counselors and psychiatrists on the third and fourth floors. CAPS counselors also have offices outside of the health center on campus. We want you to find a counselor who you feel comfortable seeing, so you can check out our bios and backgrounds on our website. Notice that our counselors also offer services in other languages. By law, counseling is confidential for anyone over age 18, except for a few exceptions of harm, which the counselor will talk to you about at the beginning of your first visit and answer any questions that you have. IU students get 2 free CAPS visits each semester, and you can call to schedule your first 30-minute appointment, which is called CAPS Now. You'll also want to know that CAPS has an after-hours crisis telephone line. The CAPS Let's Talk program is another way that you can talk to us about sleep or any other problem you're having. Stop by any of our Let's Talk Now locations for a quick free conversation, or you can call CAPS to schedule a formal counseling appointment that's located at our Let's Talk locations on campus. Let's Talk services are located at IU Cultural Centers, the Office of International Student Services, and elsewhere. Check the link for our current locations. CAPS has lots of other ways to help you with sleep, stress, anxiety, depression, or coping skills. Call us to find out about our 3-week workshops, or drop in for our free workshops on mindfulness or topics like stress management, adjustment, procrastination, and lots more. We also offer group counseling on lots and lots of topics. I'll mention 2 other services that could help you or a friend. First, the Sexual Assault Crisis Service is a special part of CAPS with counselors who work with IU students of all gender identities who've experienced any kind of sexual violence. Those services are free and confidential and include a 24-hour crisis line. And finally, there's another great counseling service on campus called the Center for Human Growth. It's located in the School of Education, and it's a great option for students, especially because they have evening hours. Thank you for joining CAPS for this workshop. Check out the other great online workshops that we offer. If you'd like to get a once-a-month email to tell you about workshops like this, Send us a blank email to the address on your screen. Good luck using your personalized action plan tonight, and sweet dreams.